Hi guys, I'm Anita and I'm back with another video, and today's topic is my most read authors, or top 10 most read authors. I'm going after title per author, including obviously if they use pen names and stuff. It was a little bit difficult when they use pen name because I used the Goodreads feature and they don't include pen names in their total, so I had to check if I remembered everyone that I've read and all of the titles that are read by the persons. But I think the list goes as follows. Coming in as number 10 on my list is Sophie Kinsella with 8 books. I'm going to be listing the books in all of these categories. I'm going to list the books in the order that I read them with my ratings underneath, so you know what I thought of them basically. Yeah. So first up, I read Remember Me, Confessions of a Shopaholic, Shopaholic Takes Manhattan, Can You Keep a Secret, I've Got Your Number, Undomestic Goddess, 20s Girl, and Finding Audrey. I pretty soon found out that the Shopaholic series would not be something I wanted to reread because I felt like they were very similar, both of them. Where I feel like the standalones by Sophie Kinsella are much better. They are really good, and I still have a couple of those to read, so I'm really excited about that. But I really enjoy Sophie Kinsella standalones. My favorites in there is Remember Me, Can You Keep a Secret, and I've Got Your Number. But that will something you will also see by the ratings. So number 8 on my list is a tie between 2 authors. The first one I'm going to talk about is Jennifer Estep, and I've read 10 books by both of them. And by Jennifer Estep I read Spider's Bite, Web of Lies, Venom, Tangled Threads, Spider's Revenge, and By a Thread. These are books 1 to 6 of the Elemental Assassin series. This follows this girl called Jin, who is an assassin, and she can do elemental stuff, and she's known by the name the Spider. And she usually don't use her magic in order to assassinate people. She uses steel knives and stuff like that, and she's really cool. It's a really fun urban fantasy series if you're interested. And my favorites in that series is by far By a Thread, but also Venom was really high up on my list. I also read Touch of Frost, Kiss of Frost, Dark Frost, and Crimson Frost, the first 4 books in the Mythos Academies, which I've really been enjoying as well. It's a YA series that reminds me a lot of the Vampire Academy series. If you've read Vampire Academies and enjoyed it, then you'll definitely also enjoy this one. Also on my number 8 most read authors is Robin Hobb, and with 10 books. The books that I read by her is Assassin's Apprentice, Royal Assassin, Assassin's Quest, and these 3 books is the Farseer trilogy. Then I've read Ship of Magic, Mad Ship, and Ship of Destiny, also by Robin Hobb. These are the Life Ship Traders, and this is by far my favorite trilogy so far that I've read by her. And then I have Fool's Errand, Golden Fool, and Fool's Fate, with Fool's Fate being my favorite Robin Hobb book so far in the whole universe. And I also read Dragon Keeper, the first book in the Rainwild Chronicles series. Obviously, I really love Robin Hobb. She's one of my favorite authors now, and I can't wait to read more books by her. So her position on this list will probably go a little higher in the future. The next author on my list, who goes in on number 7, is PC and Kristen Cast. They're the same author, or they're not the same author, they are a mother and daughter. They've written this series together, so they're in the same position because it's the same books. And I read this back after I read Twilight, so a really long time ago, I think back in the late 2000s. Yeah. But they are as follows. Please note that even though the ratings might be high here, I have changed my opinion about them, but I'm gonna keep them that way. I still enjoy the first 4 books, and I think they're pretty decent. The writing is not the best, but I like them. And I've unhauled the books since, so I can't show you the actual physical copies. But they are Marked, Betrayed, Chosen, Untamed, Hunted, Tempted, Burned, Awakened, Destined, Hidden, and Revealed. These are book 1 to 11 in the House of Night series. It's way too long. It should have stopped after. Probably Awakened should have been the last one. and finished it up there, but it didn't. I haven't read the last book, and I'm not gonna. Number 6 on my list is J.K. Rowling with 12 books. Books that I read by J.K. Rowling are as follows. As I said, do not mind the order that these comes in. This is the order that I read them. The Half-Blood Prince, The Deathly Hallows, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, and finally Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. These are the book 1 to 7 of the Harry Potter series in the order that I read them. Then I read The Cuckoo's Calling, The Silkworm, and Career of Evil, which is the Common Strike series, which he writes under a pen name Robert Galbraith. The Cursed Child, which I unhauled. I hated it. Oh well, the rating probably doesn't show as much hate as it probably should get, but I have hated on it a lot more since, and this is my initial rating when I rated it at first. And Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, the original screenplay. This was also pretty great. Coming in as number 5 on my list is Janine Frost with 13 books, and the books that I read are as follows, and you should read these in this order if you want to read the Night Hunters series. So the first 12 books, I'm telling you, read it in this order, otherwise it'll be too confusing. First up, Halfway to the Dead, One Foot in the Grave, At Grave's End, Destined for an Early Grave, First Drop of Crimson, Eternal Kiss of Darkness, This Side of the Grave, One Grave at a Time, Once Burned, Twice Tempted, Up from the Grave, Bound by Flames, and these are the 12 books that I've read in the Night Hunters universe. I still have to read one more book. And then I also read The Beautiful Ashes, which is a separate thing. You can read it on its own, but it's not very good, in my opinion. 2 authors share spot number 3 on my list, and that is, first up, Jim Butcher. Who else? By Jim Butcher, I've read 14 books, and they are as follows. Stormfront, Full Moon, Grave's Peril, Summer Night, Death Masks, Blood Rites, Deadbeat, Proven Guilty, White Knight, Small Favor, Turncoat, Changed, Ghost Story, and Cold Days. I don't have very many books left in the Dresden Files series, but I have a short story collection and one more book, and then there's another short story collection coming out in May, which I'm excited about. And then I'm caught up, and I have to wait for Peace Talks? No. This 16th book, which I forgot what it's called. And I think it's gonna possibly be published, if not this year, then next year. I think he's in the writing process of it, so. And I also need to get to, afterwards, all of the other series by Jim Butcher. I'm pretty obsessed. I'm going to read all of the books. That's just how it is. And that's the same with a lot of authors on this list. The majority of the authors on this list, at least. And the other book that tied with him was Rick Riordan, with also 14 books. The Lightning Thief, Sea of Monsters, The Titan's Curse, which is probably my favorite in the Percy Jackson series, The Battle of the Labyrinth, and The Last Olympian. These are the 5 books in the Percy Jackson series. Then I read The Lost Hero and The Son of Neptune. And then I took a jump and started in on The Sword of Summer by Rick Riordan, which is the first in the Magnus Chase series. Mark of Athena, House of Hades, and finally The Blood of the Olympus, books 1 to 5 of the Heroes of Olympus series. Then I read Hidden Oracle by Rick Riordan, which is one of my least favorite of his, and The Hammer of Thor, which is my favorite of his, and Dark Prophecy, my least favorite of his that I've read. So those are the 14 books that I read. And the 2 books that I don't really like are the Trials of Apollo book. I don't really like Apollo, and so it doesn't really work for me. But Magnus Chase is one of my favorites, and the Heroes of Olympus series is my favorite series as a whole, I think, because I really like Leo Valdez. which a lot of people apparently do. And I also really like Piper from the Heroes of Olympus series. I think she's a really, really interesting character. The next author on my list is one of my absolute favorites. I mean, I've read 24 books by this author, and it is Nora Roberts. She's not very popular on BookTube, and I sort of understand why. She's very much just she's writing romance for the most part, with dipping into different genres, Harlequin romances and stuff, and romantic suspense, and then she has some paranormal romance sort of books, which I haven't really delved into yet, not very much at least. But she also writes this futuristic science fiction series under her pen name J.D. Robb, which is one of the reasons I have 24 books that I've read by her. But let's go into it. Otherwise she would have been here, because I've read 15 books that is just solely in her writing as Nora Roberts, and then I read 9 books that when she was writing as J.D. Robb. But let's get into it in the order that I read them, and my ratings as per usual. The first book I read by her was High Noon. Then I read Angels Fall, Northern Lights, which is still one of my absolute favorites of hers, Naked in Death, which is the first in the In Death series, Born in Fire, The Witness, one of my absolute favorites as well, Glory in Death, Whiskey Beach, one of my least favorite I've read by her, Immortal in Death, Rapture in Death, Three Fates, Born in Ice, Ceremony in Death, The Liar, Born in Shame, Montana Sky, Vengeance in Death, and Holiday in Death, Stars of Fortune, Conspiracy in Death, The Next Always, The Last Boyfriend, Loyalty in Death, and Year One. Those are all of the 24 books that I read by Nora Roberts so far. And there's still a lot more to go. She's one of those authors who releases like 3 or 4 books a year. At least one in Death series, and then at least one in her straight up as a standalone, and then at least also one in a series a trilogy or something that she's writing in. So yes, there's a lot of things to catch up on, but I'm a little more selective now than I was in the beginning, because there's some series that I'm more interested in reading and some standalones I'm more interested in reading than others. But I think that her 90s stuff is what I've really enjoyed the most so far, although I did really enjoy The Witness, which is I think a 2009 release or something, but I don't remember completely. The author who's on the top of my list is Richelle Mead with a whopping 25 books. I really enjoy Richelle Mead. I don't know if she's my favorite, but she's definitely one of my favorite authors, and I've read 25 books by her, and I really enjoyed the majority of those I've read. So let's get into it. I own the majority of my Richelle Mead books on Kindle, but I also have a bunch of them in physical form, and some I have both places. First up, I read Vampire Academy, Frostbitten, which I read on my Kindle, but this is not the editions that I want, but I can't find the red editions. Then I read Shadow Kiss, which is probably my favorite in the series, with the last one as well. Blood Promise, Spirit Bound, which I haven't found a copy of, and Last Sacrifice, this concludes the Vampire Academy series. Then I read Bloodlines, which is a spin-off to the Vampire Academy, so you have to read the Vampire Academy first. Golden Lily, The Indigo Spell, and The Fiery Heart. Adrian's Lost Chapter, and The Meeting, 2 novellas set. The first one is in-between novella between Vampire Academy and Bloodlines. And then there's The Meeting, which is a prequel novella, which is the first chapter of Vampire Academy from Dimitri's perspective. And then I read Succubus Blues, which is the first in the Georgina Kincaid series. Succubus on Top, Silver Shadows, Succubus Dreams, Succubus Heat, The Ruby Circle, Succubus Shadows, Stormborn, the first in the Dark Swan series, Succubus Revealed, Soundless, which is my least favorite Richelle Mead book so far, Thorn Queen, Iron Crowned, and Shadow Air. Iron Crown, Thorn Queen is probably my favorite in the series. Yeah, but these are all of the books that I read by Richelle Mead. Really enjoyed the majority of them. I still have 5 or 6 books to read by hers, but I hope she goes back and write some more adult urban fantasy books, because I really enjoy those books a lot. And yeah, these are my most read authors currently. I'd like to actually do this like maybe once a year to see how the list switches around, or maybe one every second year or something in the future, because I think it's fun to see how my reading develops and changes. But there's obviously a lot of authors that I really enjoy that I've only read a couple of books of, like 3 or 4 books, and I really love them, but they're not on this list because I haven't gotten very far in their reading, or they don't have very many books come out yet. So yeah, but this was the video for today. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of the authors and what you think of them. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video very, very soon. Goodbye.